Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to break down a teaching tip that could honestly change the way your students learn. It's all about making that learning really, truly stick. This teaching tip comes to us from the Lebanese International University's Center of Excellence for Teaching and Learning, and it's all built around one powerful idea that can make a huge difference in your classroom. So, let's kick things off with a question. We've all seen our students do it, right? Highlighting, underlining, reading their notes over and over again. But is this super common study habit really the best way to learn? Well, the answer might actually surprise you. Okay, first up, let's dig into something called the rereading illusion. This really gets to the heart of why a study method that feels so productive can often be one of the least effective. You know exactly what this looks like. A student's getting ready for a big test, their textbook is just a sea of different highlighter colors, and they've read the chapter like 3 times. They feel like they're putting in the work, that they're really getting it. But what's actually happening in their brain? And this is where we see the huge disconnect. Rereading feels good. It feels easy because the material starts to look familiar. But the reality? It's a whole different story. This passive kind of review, it creates really weak retention. It leads to this false confidence. And really, it only builds short-term recognition, not real deep understanding. This all leads to a super critical problem in learning, called the illusion of knowing. It's that dangerous feeling of, oh yeah, I know this, just because you recognize it on the page. But that familiarity gets mistaken for actual mastery. It's exactly why a student can feel totally prepared and then just freeze when they're looking at a blank test paper. Okay, so if rereading is the illusion, what's the solution? Well, the science of making learning stick points to a much, much more powerful strategy. And that strategy is called retrieval practice. You know, the idea is actually super simple. Instead of passively putting information in your brain by rereading, retrieval is the act of actively pulling information out of your memory. And that one simple act, that's what builds strong long-term learning. So how does it work? Well, it starts with trying to remember something. Now pay really close attention to step 2. You experience a mental struggle. This is the most important part. That struggle isn't a sign of failure. It's the brain working hard to find and build a stronger memory connection. That effort is exactly what makes the learning stick. Scientists actually have a cool name for this: desirable difficulty. Think of it like lifting weights at the gym. If a weight is too light, you're not going to build muscle, right? It's the resistance, the struggle that causes growth. The mental effort of retrieval practice does the exact same thing for our brain. It builds stronger, more durable, and easier to access memories. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do we actually bring this into the classroom? Well, the good news is it's incredibly simple to do. Let's look at a few practical steps you can take. These strategies are so easy to implement. Instead of saying review your notes, try telling students to quiz yourself. Have them put their books away and just write down everything they can remember. Or ask them to summarize a key idea in their own words. Even a single question at the start of class, like, hey, what was the big idea from yesterday, forces that active retrieval. And here's a massive bonus. Retrieval isn't just a study tool, it's a diagnostic tool. When a student tries to recall something and can't, it shines a huge spotlight on exactly where their knowledge gaps are. It gives them a true, honest picture of what they understand, completely shattering that illusion of knowing. So when you boil it all down, what's the one big takeaway here? It's that the most important ingredient in real learning isn't just time, it's that effortful recall. And this is the key message for our students. We need to remind them that struggling to remember is totally normal. In fact, that effort is what makes their learning stronger. We have to help them see that mental struggle not as a problem, but as the very engine of learning. This final comparison just lays it all out crystal clear. Ineffective learning is passive, and it feels easy. Effective learning is active, it feels hard, and that's precisely why it creates lasting, long-term knowledge. It's a total shift in how we think about studying. So I'll leave you with this final thought. You don't need to change your entire curriculum. Just think, what's one small retrieval activity? A simple question, a quick summary that you can try in your class this week to help your students make their learning truly stick.